Bonjour and good morning. Welcome to WASA Distance Education Center and PLAR Geography. Woohoo! Today's our last class. So we've been together now for 9 weeks. Can you imagine that? That went by quickly. And I think there's only 5 more Fridays left, or 6 till Christmas, something like that. And don't forget Saturday, so for the weekend, to set your clocks back, I think. Okay, you can still apply for WASA courses. You can contact us at 807-737-1488, or you can contact your local distance education coordinator. Just a reminder that students who sign up for IL courses, when you do sign up, you have to make sure that you finish them by June 13th, 2026. So if you're a potential graduate, make sure that you sign up for the courses that you need so you have as much time that you have to complete the course. When you sign up, make sure you contact your teacher. You can get help through Zoom, email, or phone. Also, before I forget, after this week, which is week 9, the first week, next week is the November 3rd to the 7th is admin week. And that means that there are no classes happening that week. So if you have exams or if you have key questions that you need to finish, make sure that you contact your teacher so that you can get help completing them. We will also be doing our Term 1A draw. So these are for students who submitted work and who have earned credit. So if you submitted 20 lessons, your name would have gone 20 times, and then you earn the credit. So that's another entry for the Term 1A draw. And we will do that again for the Term 1B. And 1B starts on Monday of November 10th. Okay, so that will be week 1. Just a reminder to PLAR students, so those students that are reapplying or students that have already applied, that you still have the option to skip the lessons and take the open book test instead. We give you the culminating activity either by email, or we let your DEC know that you want the culminating activity and they can print it for you. It can be completed at home. It means that you don't have to stay at the learning center and you don't require supervision. Students who are successful will receive their equivalent credits, and then you can go on to do your senior PLAR and work towards your senior credits. If the culminating activity is not passed, then we will talk to you, the student. The key questions in the lessons must be completed. So depending on which section that you might have had difficulty with. So for example, if you're doing the PLAR geography and you really have problems with latitude and longitude, I will take you through lesson 2, and we could work on getting you help with the longitude and latitude. Students are also permitted several attempts to pass the culminating activity. So it doesn't hurt if you try the culminating activity. It will let you know which sections or topics that you may have problems with. And don't forget, when you're answering the questions, please rely only on the materials that we provide for you. Do not use the internet or Wi-Fi to search for answers. So today we are finishing up lesson 2, and as you can see, it shows you the key questions for lesson 1. There's 1 to 13, and then key questions for lesson 2, 14 to 31. So we only have key question 31 to complete today. So this is the mark sheet that you have been given if you have submitted any of the key questions. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel to watch recorded classes from this term. So there's a Term 1A for this year, and there's also classes from last year. So if you're working ahead, so for example, if you're already working ahead on doing your MEL3E, make sure that you watch last year's videos. So watch the videos, subscribe, and use them to support your key questions and culminating activity. Those of you who are submitting or planning to submit key questions or the culminating activity, there are several ways for you to send them out. You can use your iPhone to scan your work. If you're using an Android, you can use the Google Drive app to scan. Then you email or send it through Messenger for marking. So you can see here there's a scan pages sent through Facebook Messenger. All I do there is once I receive it, I can print it, or the person that looks after the student work will print it. If you're taking a picture, make sure that the picture is clear. So just double check. If you can't read the writing that you put in there, that means we can't either. So here's another way. Someone sent me scanned pages and then they sent it through Facebook Messenger. So it says Geo Culminating and it's in PDF. And then I just open it and I can print it. If you're directly emailing it, so if you type in your answers, you can email it to studentwork@nnec.on.ca. Make sure you CC the teacher that's marking your work. So if it's PLAR History, Geography, and Science, make sure you CC to me. If it's PLAR Math or PLAR English, make sure you CC to B. Osmond at nnec.on.ca. You can also share your work through Google Docs. You can have your DEC scan or fax it for you. You can drop it off at 74 Front Street. That's our physical address for Sulukout, Wassa. We also have an outdoor mailbox on the side entrance. Just make sure you put your name on it so we know that it came from you. And if you have any other concerns or questions, feel free to contact me. Okay, so as I've said, this is our last class for term 1A. If you don't finish this term, don't worry, you can continue working on your PLAR subjects. Remember to focus on one subject at a time, and the best way to do that is finish the one that you have the most work completed or already started, okay, instead of working on several at once. So for example, if you have to do the PLAR History, PLAR Math, and PLAR English, try to focus on the subject that you have the most work completed before you start working on another one. Okay, so from our last class, we looked at global warming, we looked at pollution, whether it's by air, land, or water. We looked at what is conservation. We looked at two types of resources, renewable and non-renewable resources. And then we looked at different types of conservation. So I think we're going to finish the last two on that, and then we will jump right into using longitude and latitude on pages 42 to 46. So keep in mind, for your learning goal, I can use longitude and latitude to locate places on a map. Okay, let's do a quick review. We said that conservation is about protecting natural resources, so you're conserving. Conservation is the careful use and protection of natural resources to prevent waste and ensure they last. Just like what we said, that if you have food in your cupboard or pantry, if you know that you can't replace something quickly, you have to be mindful of how much you use it up. So that's what conservation means. Two types of resources. We said renewable resources. These are things that nature can replace on its own. Examples, oxygen, water, soil, and living things. So plants make oxygen through photosynthesis. Soil forms when rocks break down. Water is reused through the water cycle, and living things reproduce to keep their populations growing. Non-renewable resources, on the other hand, can't be replaced naturally. Or if they are, they take a very long time to form. So examples include fossil fuels like oil, coal, and natural gas, as well as minerals. So metals are made from these minerals, which come from the earth. Okay, so those are the two types of natural resources and renewable resources and non-renewable resources. We also looked at different ways to conserve resources. So for air pollution conservation, we keep the air clean by reducing harmful gases. One example would be carpooling with others instead of driving alone to produce less exhaust. So I mentioned yesterday, if you and your friends are going to the same volleyball game in the community hall, instead of each person taking their own vehicle, you might decide amongst yourselves who will drive and then pick up the others to go to the game. That means you have less vehicles on the road. Water conservation, saving and protecting water so there's enough for everyone. An example, simply turning off taps when not in use, or make sure you fix leaks if it's happening, so you're not wasting water. Soil conservation, preventing soil from being damaged or washed away. An example would be planting trees or crops to stop erosion. We also looked at wildlife conservation, and that's protecting animals and their habitats. So habitats is where they live. An example would be creating wildlife parks or protecting endangered species. Okay, so let's finish up this section. There's also forest conservation. So many forests are destroyed by fires caused by human carelessness. So teaching people about the dangers of forest fires is one way to help protect these forests. Other ways to protect forests include planting new trees to replace those cut down for wood or other products, cutting down only certain areas of a forest so seeds from the remaining trees can grow new ones, and removing only older or unhealthy trees from the forest. Okay, so that's for forest conservation. Metal conservation, recycling. So recycling just means you reusing materials. Some resources like metals can be recycled repeatedly. Items like aluminum cans, glass bottles, newspapers, and certain car parts can be melted down and reused. So recycling is an important way to save valuable minerals and resources. So here's an example. Recycling aluminum cans saves 95% of the energy used to make aluminum cans from new material. Okay, fuel conservation. So fuels are non-renewable resources, meaning that once they're used up, they can't be replaced or recycled. The best way to conserve fuel is to avoid wasting it and use it carefully. Again, like you would with something you can't easily replace. So here are some ways to help save fuel. Drive cars that have good gas mileage and follow the speed limit. You can walk, bike, or carpool whenever possible. Turn off lights when leaving a room to save the fuel used to make electricity, and use energy-saving appliances to reduce electricity use. So here's some fuel-saving tips. Okay, you can pump up your tires, multitask with your daily routine. So instead of doing one thing at a time, so you might pick up the mail, get your groceries, go to the other stores. That's multitasking instead of you do one day and then do the next one for another day. So if you can multitask or bunch those together, then you can save fuel. Plan your route ahead of time. Avoid rush hour at all costs, because that means you're starting and stopping. We don't have that much problem here in Sioux for rush hour. Remove unnecessary stuff from your trunk, okay, because if it's weighed down, you're using more fuel. So yesterday we did key questions. We did key question 25. We talked about what does global warming mean? Why should we be concerned about its effect on the Earth? Then we had the following terms: ozone layer, acid rain, Paris Agreement. And then we also looked at key question 26. In your opinion, was it a good idea for Canada to withdraw from the Kyoto Accord? And you have to tell me whether yes you think it was or no you didn't think it was a good idea. 3 actions, key question 27, that you personally can take to help reduce global warming. So just something simple that you can do. Just you can write, I turn off the lights when I leave the room, or maybe you turn off your computer when you're done using it. Okay, it doesn't have to be something big, and it's something that you personally can do, not the businesses or government. Key question 28, what is a renewable resource? Remember, tell me first what it means and then give 2 examples. Key question 29, what is a non-renewable resource? Again, tell me what it means, then give me 2 examples. And key question 30, what is carpooling and how does it help reduce air pollution? So specifically, I'm looking for air pollution. Okay, so let's look at our last topic now, which is using longitude and latitude. So to find locations on a globe or map, we use lines that go east to west and north to south. So these lines are based on 2 imaginary lines. The reason they're imaginary is because we don't draw a line on the Earth. The equator and the prime meridian. So those are the 2 main imaginary lines. The equator circles the middle of the Earth. So think of it as a belt around the globe. And it divides it into the northern and southern halves. So up top is the northern hemisphere. And then below is the southern hemisphere. What it does is it helps us measure how far a place is north or south of the center of the Earth, or north or south of the equator. So take a moment to look at the slide. You can see there's the equator. So you can see there's the northern hemisphere, and then below that is the southern hemisphere. So the equator is that imaginary line, okay, that divides the north from the south. Okay, so that's north and south. Now we have the prime meridian. So the prime meridian, again, is an imaginary line that runs from the North Pole to the South Pole. Okay, so there's the North Pole. And below that is the South Pole. So the prime meridian is right here. And the prime meridian, again, is an imaginary line. And it passes through Greenwich, England. And it helps us measure how far places are to the east or west. Or if you want to look at it, another way is it helps us measure how far places are from the left of the prime meridian or to the right of the prime meridian, so east or west. So the prime meridian divides the Earth, okay, into the western hemisphere and eastern hemisphere. So if you're not sure, you have north, south, east, and west. If you want to remember it, if you go clockwise, never eat soggy waffles, okay, if you like waffles. You don't want to eat them when they're soggy. Alright, so a place's location on a globe or map is where a north to south line crosses or meets an east to west line. So if we combine latitude and longitude, any location on the earth can be pinpointed. Okay, so if you're wondering, oh, I wonder where so lookout is, like what's the longitude and latitude, the exact location, you can do that. So first let's look at latitude lines. So the lines that go east to west on a map or globe are called latitude lines. They're also known as parallels, and parallels, that's why they're called that, because they stay the same distance apart as they go around the earth. That means they never meet. These lines run in the same direction as the equator and are used to measure how far a place is north or south of the equator. Another way of remembering it, remember I said that think of the equator as a belt around the globe. So the word latitude is derived from the Latin word latus, meaning wide. Okay, so it's the width of your belt. So if you're looking at the slide I have up here now, you can see there's the equator, which is at 0 degrees. And these are the parallels. So you can see that they run in an east-west direction, and they're measuring the distance north or south from the equator. So if you look at it, you got 0 degrees, then you got 10 degrees, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 at the North Pole. Then you can go from 0 degrees going to the south. You got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 degrees south of the equator. Okay, parallels to one another, so they never meet. They cross the prime meridian at right angles. Okay, so remember the prime meridian is what divides it in half, left to right. They lie in planes that cross the Earth's axis at right angles. So it means, if you remember your math, it goes like this. So there's the right angles. And they get shorter toward the poles, with only the equator the longest. Okay, so as it goes up or down, it gets shorter. Okay, on the other hand, we have longitude lines. Now, the lines that go from north to south on a map or globe are called longitude lines. Okay, just think of it as a long. Or meridians. These lines aren't the same distance apart, okay? Unlike latitude lines where they're the same, 10, 20, 30, 40, and so on. These meet at the north and south poles. Even though they run up and down, longitude lines measure how far is east or west of the prime meridian. Okay, there's the North Pole. The South Pole is down here. Okay, they are, what are some more? They cross the equator at right angles. They are equal in length. They are halves of great circles and are farthest apart at the equator and meet at the poles. Okay, so what do we do now with this information? Well, the Earth is round and circles are measured in degrees. So a full circle has 360 degrees. So since the globe is a circle, latitude and longitude lines are also measured in degrees. So when you're doing your key questions or you're culminating, make sure that you have that little symbol, the little 0 or O at the top of the number to indicate degrees. So latitude lines start at the equator, which is marked at 0 degrees. So there's the equator. So if you're doing your culminating, that's one of the questions. You know, what is the degree for the equator? It's 0 degrees. All other latitude lines are measured in degrees north or south of the equator, reaching up to the poles at the top and bottom of the globe. So if we're looking at Sioux Lookout, we are 50 degrees north, okay, of the equator. Now longitude lines go from the North Pole to the South Pole. We said the main line is called the prime meridian, also at 0 degrees. The line on the exact opposite side of the Earth is 180. So remember 360 all the way around. So if you have it, it's 180. All other lines are measured as degrees east or west of the prime meridian. So example, if you are in London, you are near the 0 degree prime meridian. If you travel halfway around the world to the Pacific Ocean, you reach 180 degrees. So lines in between are either east or west depending on which direction you go. So if you're going left or you're going right. So there's London. So again, this is north, south, there's east, there's west. So London is more east than west, okay, of the prime meridian. So when you're writing latitude and longitude, latitude always comes first. And if you want to remember it by, so latitude, LA, alphabetically, comes before LO. So latitude first, then longitude. Number in degrees, so first if you're doing latitude, you want to tell me in degrees, north or south of the equator, or number in degrees, which is the longitude, it's east or west of the prime meridian. So coordinates of latitude and longitude are always written like this. So latitude first, longitude second, then north or south, then east or west. So for Sioux Lookout, we can say that Sioux Lookout is 50 degrees north and 91 degrees east. All right, let's try this. So if you're following along in your book, turn to page 46. So here we have locating places by latitude and longitude. We're going to use this diagram. Note how longitude and latitude determine locations on a map. So remember, latitude is always written first because we want to tell whether it's north or south location, followed by longitude, which tells us an east or west location. So latitude lines are drawn at 30 degrees intervals. So you have 30, 60, 90. So you have 0, 30, 60, 90. South, you got 0, 30, 60, 90, north. So that helps us identify a point's location in relation to the equator. So for example, look for point X. So if you're looking at this on page 46, look for point X. And point X is up here. I just circled it in yellow. Point X is 30 degrees north of the equator. Okay, that's where point X is. Now if you look at point Y, just below it, point Y is 30 degrees south of the equator. So here's the equator at 0 degrees. We have X is at 30 degrees north of the equator, and point Y is 30 degrees south of the equator. How do we know it's 30 degrees? If you look, and you just draw a line, that's 30. If you draw a line below it, it shows you that it's 30 degrees south. Now, longitude lines show that point X is, so now there's your prime meridian. I'll just label it. So that's the prime meridian. Remember, it divides the Earth long ways, so left or right, or east or west. Now we have to find point X. Oops. There's point X. Is 30 degrees east of the prime meridian. Right here. That's how we know it's 30 degrees east. There's Y. While point Y, there's point Y right here, and there's point X. They are both 30 degrees east of the prime meridian. So if we look at it, let's look for the letter Z or Z. There's the letter Z. If you draw the line where it's cutting across it or drawing through it, we see that it's 30 degrees west of the prime meridian. So if we were to summarize it, now we have the location of X has a location of 30 degrees north and 30 degrees east. Remember, latitude first, then longitude. Point Y has a location of 30 degrees south and 30 degrees east. And point Z has a location of, so if you look at it, 30 degrees south, because it's just below. There's your 30 degrees south. You cut a line across it. There's Z or Z. And then it also shows you the longitude of it is 30 degrees west. Okay, so that's how you would write the longitude, the latitude and longitude of locations X, Y, and Z. Okay, we're going to do our final key question, which is key question 31, and we will do this together. Okay, and you notice that I have done this in a dual page, so we can look at the map that's on page 58 and 59. So let's go to our key question, which is the last one here. Here we go. Alright, so look at the map that's on page 58 and 59. So 59 is where the map is, and page 58 is where your questions are located. So the first one, so this is key question 31, your final question for lesson 2. On the next page, so it says figure 4.4, that just tells us what figure it is. It says degrees of latitude and longitude on a stretched globe. Okay, so it's stretched out. It says what degree is the latitude line that goes through Australia. So you have to look for Australia. So let's first find Australia. There is Australia right there. And the best way to do it is find the equator. So there's your equator at 0. So equator is at 0. There's Australia. Now Australia, we're looking for the line, what degree is the latitude line that goes through it. There's a line that goes through it. Latitude, okay, divides or tells us the location of a place north or south of the equator. So there's the equator, and we can see that it's 30 degrees south. Don't forget to write that little O or 0 at the top, and the latitude. Okay, the next question, where is 90 degrees north located? So where is this located? Well, we talked about the North Pole and the South Pole. Okay, so 90 degrees north is located at the North Pole. Okay, the next question, C, how is the longitude line that passes through the middle of South America labeled? So how is it labeled? The longitude. So when we're talking about longitude, don't forget the line that cuts the globe in half from left to right, that's your prime meridian. So longitude, whether it's east or west of the prime meridian. South America, so here's South America right here, and it says how is the longitude line that passes through the middle of it. So this is the middle of South America. There's your longitude line. It is labeled as 60 degrees west. Okay, hopefully you're following along. If you're not sure, make sure you contact me. Okay, D, the southernmost tip of Africa lies between which two latitude lines? So this one might be tricky for people because they'll do latitude and longitude. It clearly states here, I want to know the two lines for latitude. So that means it's either north or south of the equator. So let's look for the tip of Africa. Is right here. There's Africa. We're looking at the tip. So two latitude lines. The southernmost tip. So remember north, south. So the two. So there's tip of that is 30 degrees south. Okay, and the other part that's under the equator, so you have 30 degrees south, and so south, there's 30, the southernmost tip, so it lies between it, so there and there, that's where it's located. So 30 degrees south and 60 degrees south. So it's between two latitude lines. Okay, next E. What is the latitude and longitude for point B? So now we're being more specific. So first is latitude. Let's look for point B. And point B is way up here. I can highlight point B right here. Well, maybe we'll use a different color. There's point B. It's not showing up very well. There's point B. Okay, we want to know the latitude. So first, its location north or south of the equator. Well, we know up, we're looking up there, so that's northern. So the first part, latitude for point B. Look at this line here. For Europe, it's 60 degrees north. So that's what we want to write first, because we want to write latitude. Oops, I'm writing it in the wrong spot. Here we go, 60 degrees north, so that's the latitude. Now we need the longitude point for point B. So now we need to know, is it to the east of the prime meridian or to the west of the prime meridian? So there's your prime meridian. Is it east of it or west of it? Is it to the right of it or to the left of it? Well, it's looking like it's to the right of it. So the prime meridian is right here. Look at that. 60 degrees north, 30 degrees east. Okay, so that's the location of point B. Okay, F and G, fairly simple. Which point is located at 30 degrees north, 150 degrees east? So let's look for 30 degrees north. I see it here, this 30 degrees north. And now we have to find 150 degrees east. So 150. So there's 150 west, so not there. Oh, there it is, 150 east. So if I go up this way and then that way, so 30 degrees north and 150 degrees east, that gives us point C. So for G, which point is located at 30 degrees north, 150 degrees west? So let's look for 30 degrees north. Well, we know it was 30 degrees north is here. Let's keep drawing that line. Oh, I see the letter D, but we have to make sure 150 degrees west. It's right there, so we are correct. That is point D. Okay, for H, what is the latitude and longitude for point A? So point A is down here. So first we need the latitude, which means its location north or south of the equator. There's your equator. We know that point A is south of it. And let's look at, oh, it's telling us it's 60 degrees south. So that's your first part, latitude. Longitude, is it to the right or to the left of the prime meridian, or east or west of it? So there's point A, there's the prime meridian, so you keep going to your left, and it's telling us that this line here is 120 degrees west. So we know that point A, the latitude is 60 degrees south and 120 degrees west. Okay, so if you have any problems with completing this key question, let me know. And we're going to end off this class by I'm going to show you the culminating activity. So if you choose to do just the culminating activity, that means you're skipping the lessons and you will try the test. So you can complete it at home. You just tell me, hey, I want to do the culminating When you're done, okay, you complete it at home, you don't have to be supervised. When you're done, take pictures of your answers and you can send them through Messenger or email. Again, don't use the internet or Wi-Fi to look up answers, because if you put the stuff in there from the internet, that means I have to look it up to see, where you got that information. So adding extra information from online sources could make you lose more marks. Keep it simple. Make sure all questions 1 to 11 are answered before sending it in for marking. So just double check, make sure you have answered 11 of the questions in the culminating. So here's an example for PLAR Geography version D. D as in dog. This is what you will see. Read it carefully. This is not a test. It does replace a test, and you have to get a passing grade. Passing grade is 50%. That's the minimum that you need to get. Again, number 4 says please don't use the internet or Wi-Fi to search for answers. Don't add extra information from online sources. There is no time specified. That means if it'll take you 5 hours to do it or 10 hours to do it. Okay, there's no specific time. Previously, we gave students 2 hours for the test. So this one you can use as much time, which means you have more time to look at the questions carefully. The first section that you do for this culminating is latitude and longitude, which is what we just did. So this is the information that you will get. It says study the following sections carefully. Look at the pictures. That's why they're there. Okay, it's not for it's not there for just graphic addition to the page. They are there for a reason. So you read this section. It says no matter where you are in the world, your location can be found using latitude and longitude. You can mark on the papers that I send you. Latitude lines are imaginary lines that go across the earth from east to west. Longitude lines, notice some of them are even bolded. Okay, so use that information that's given to you. After you read through that, then answer the section 1. It says look at the pictures above on page 3. Give the latitude of the equator, of the North Pole, the Arctic Circle, the South Pole, the Tropic of Cancer, and then give the longitude of the prime meridian. Okay, the second section is about service industries. So again, you read the information about primary industries, secondary industries, and tertiary industries. Then a set of questions will follow. Define and give 2 examples of each of the following. Okay, read it carefully. It says define, and then give 2 examples of each of the following. And there are 3 there: primary industries, secondary industries, and tertiary industries. You get 1 mark for telling me what it is, and you get another mark for the examples. Number 4, you identify which type of industry. So you tell me whether it's primary, secondary, or tertiary. Here's an example. For column A, it says hair salons. So in column B, you tell me that's a tertiary industry because it's a service industry. So you do that from A to H. Okay, finally, there's section 3. The section 3 is about the people of the Longhouse and their impact on indigenous history, specifically looking at the Iroquois. Okay, they're an important group in Native American history. Then there's a set of questions that follows it. Okay, it says list the 5 tribes that make up the Iroquois. So you're just listing them. Why do you think the Iroquois chose to live near the water? Okay, number 7, the Iroquois were not as nomadic as other tribes. And it's only asking you what is one way they are different from groups that moved around more. What farming method did the Iroquois use to clear land, and what were the 3 main crops they grew, known as the 3 Sisters? Number 9, explain 3 ways the Iroquois demonstrated their respect for nature and all of creation. So it says 3 ways. Number 10, what types of animals did Iroquois men traditionally hunt? That's the first part. And how did they fish? And finally, the question 11, what were some of the responsibilities of women within the longhouse, and how were they expected to show hospitality to their family and guests? Okay, so that's the 11 questions that you need to do when you complete the culminating. Okay, so that's it for now. Again, if you have any questions and you need help to finish your PLAR subjects, give us a call. Okay, thank you and miigwech.